Is Crucifix still the best DPS in PvE? Or were the wand and staff buffs enough to push classes like Fury or Invocator to the top again? So I did quite a bit of testing here on the new patch, and I got also quite a bit of feedback from people that I actually trust. So I feel like I have right now a pretty good overview what the current state of the meta is. And yeah, in this video I will give you my personal tier list of the current PvE meta. Of course, this is my personal opinion. If you see things different, please let me know in the comments. Okay, let's start first with tanks. And here we have SNS Greatsword. By far the best combination that we have right now as a tank. Simply because as soon as you have an SNS, you will not deal relevant damage anymore in PvE. That's why it's better to go for a full buffing style. And the Greatsword is just the best combination for that, as long as they don't nerf Blood Devotion or maybe just move the ability to the SNS. I don't know, there's just nothing else you can play, and that's why all the other SNS classes are all F tier. It's not playable. Of course it's playable and you can beat every dungeon, but I can already tell you will have a hard time finding a group as one of those tanks in the late game. Okay, next up we come to healers, and here again we have only one viable combination, and this is our Seeker, so wand plus bow. And again, you could heal with other combinations, like for example an Invocator or with an Oracle. Not a big thing. Problem is, there's one ability that is just completely broken, and this is the Deadly Marker, which you get from the bow. The ability is again just so ridiculously broken. It just reduces the cooldown of everyone in your party. You always want to have at least one bow player in your party. And the problem is you can't really play the bow as a DPS anymore. Of course, it's somewhat possible, but compared to other weapons, it's just again not a lot of damage. That's why it's just so important that your healer has always a bow. Okay, now we have our tank and we have our heal. Now let's talk about DPS. And I will start here with Crossbow Orb, our Crucifix. And this, of course, is still S tier. The changes did almost nothing, and we still are by far the best DPS in the game. Good AoE damage, good single target damage, and it's super easy to play. But now we got also a lot of buffs to the wand and also the staff, right? And now the question, of course, everyone has, how good is Oracle? How good is Enigma? How good is Fury? And how good is the Invocator? The classes that should be good in theory now, right? So we got a 100% curse damage increase, and also 2 of the staff abilities got buffed. So the wand and the orb both got buffed in PvE, and now the classes have to be good, right? So yes, they are better, but it's still far away from Crossbow Orb. And that's why I put them all into B tier. And they're not even A tier. And this is simply because Crossbow Orb still deals at least 2 times the damage of those 4 classes. A good example that I just have to bring up here, maybe you have seen Aragon's video where he tries to kill the dummy with Fury as fast as possible, and he tries desperately to kill the dummy with Fury in 30 seconds. And I'm pretty sure he has a really good Fury gear. The thing is, with Crossbow Orb, you don't even have to use your detonation mark and you kill the dummy in 30 seconds. And you have to remember that Fury is a really good class of killing dummies. It's not so dependent on Deadly Marker. Crossbow Orb just really shines when it has a Deadly Marker, and it still outperforms everyone on dummies, even if you don't use a detonation mark. And nothing here against the dummy time from Aragon. He did a great job, but it just really nicely shows how broken Crucifix is. The difference between those classes is still crazy. And I've also played myself a lot of wand orb, staff orb, and the damage is good, you know, the damage is really good, but the damage is not even close to Crossbow Orb, and additionally it's way harder to do this damage. You have way more things to manage on those classes, especially the orb management gets way harder than, for example, on Crossbow Orb. For Crossbow Orb you mostly spam 2 abilities and then occasionally you buff yourself again, and it makes this class so easy to play, especially in Dimensional Trials where a lot of things are ongoing. It's just really easy to play compared to Wand Orb and Staff Orb. But I would say Staff Orb is the best tier of those, simply because you can play with AoE high focus, which would buff all your crucifixes. So that makes it a little bit better. Wand Orb potentially can deal more damage, especially in night dungeons. So that means in all tier 2 dungeons, because then you have like certain mastery configurations that give you actually quite a bit of damage. But still, to do all the damage is just way harder. That's why I like Staff Orb more. Then I would consider Wand Crossbow, and at last the good old Invocator. Invocator, probably still the most chill class to play in the game. But yeah, it's not really performing right now compared to all the other classes. One more additional comment here. A lot of people expected bigger results of this 100% increase of the curse damage. And we talked about this yesterday a little bit in the stream. And some people did some tests before the buff and after the buff. And they noticed that the damage was not just damaged. The calculation is a little bit scuffed. And this 100% bonus damage doesn't mean, oh, all curses deal now double the damage. Maybe they're not impacted by certain multipliers or whatsoever. We don't know. I've also not fully tested it. But just so you know, it's not just a 100% damage increase. Now I would continue with the second deadly marker. So here we have Wand Orb, Bow Staff, and Crossbow Bow. So in the current meta, my best team composition would be an SNS Greatsword, a Wand Bow, and 4 Crossbow Orbs. In the late game in tier 3, we have so much buff duration, we have so much cooldown speed. One deadly marker is enough. Or let's say one good deadly marker. If the healer has a lot of cooldown speed and he spams this deadly marker on point, there is no need for a second deadly marker. The crossbow orbs will have maybe a 1 to 3 seconds cooldown on their selfless, which is not a big thing. So it's way better to take more crossbow orbs than taking a second deadly marker. So if you have problems, I would consider Staff Orb the best. So you play with AoE high focus to buff all your crossbow orbs. And then I would consider a second deadly marker. But yeah, this is just personal preference. If you have, of course, a really bad healer deadly marker, right, who's not spamming that on cooldown, of course, and then this becomes suddenly A tier. But yeah, if you have a good healer, then you really don't need a second deadly mark anymore. It still feels nice, but yeah, it's simply not needed just because we have way too much buff duration and cooldown speed. Okay, but with this, we have now a pretty good baseline, and now we'll just go through everything else. So Wand Dagger can be for sure good, deal some damage. It's probably like beginning of C tier here. You can make that for sure viable. It will deal decent damage, but nothing compared to all the other stuff here. Wand Spear, you can make it for sure viable. Something like end of C tier here. Greatsword Dagger was in tier 2 really good. Like if you had like good Ravager players, they would deal crazy amount of damage. But now with the Orb release and with the Wand and Staff buffs, I think Greatsword Dagger is just the beginning of C tier. I don't see it anymore on the B tier level. Then Greatsword Spear, I would probably put it above or the same level as Greatsword Dagger. It's still really good. It can replace a tank in certain scenarios. But yeah, I think it just doesn't bring enough value here anymore. That's why I wouldn't put it on the B tier. Greatsword Bow, kinda trash. Bow Spear, also trash. Greatsword Staff, for sure viable. Somewhere end of C tier. You can make that for sure viable and deal quite a bit of damage, but you will not outperform anything crazy. Spear Dagger, similar to Greatsword Dagger, it could really deal a lot of damage in end of tier 2, but now it's just being overshadowed by everything in B and S tier. Spear Crossbow, you can somehow make viable, right? You will deal some damage, but yeah, somewhere end of C tier. Greatsword Wand, again, similar, also somewhere end of C tier. Well, Staff Crossbow is actually still pretty good. I would put that into end of B tier. I think Spell Weaver is still pretty good. The staff buffs actually help here, and the new Lucian's crossbow is really nice here for the class. So overall it will be really strong. If it's not stronger than one staff or one crossbow, I can't really tell. The problem is I transferred my legendary staff into my legendary orb, so I can't really test this now anymore, but I still think it's a really good class. It might be a little bit better than end of B tier, but yeah, let's just leave it here. Then Bow Dagger, absolutely trash. And Staff Spear, maybe end of C tier, probably F tier. I will put it F tier because I don't see it really performing that well. Crossbow Dagger I would probably put on the same level as Staff Crossbow here. They are probably pretty similar. Then we have Orb Dagger. Yeah, so I haven't personally tested it. Maybe we should do that, actually. But the Orb is just giga broken, so it's probably beginning of C tier here somewhere. Maybe it can also be B tier, but I haven't personally tested it. I haven't personally seen anything in PvE, so I'm really not sure. So to be safe, let's put it into the beginning of C tier. Greatsword Orb is maybe somewhere in the middle of C tier, maybe at the end of... just let's put it in here. Gonna be fine. Similar to Spear Orb, let's put it right next to it. It has an orb, so it's kind of decent. It's nothing special, but it's probably decent, right? Staff Dagger. So Staff Dagger is actually better now than it was in tier 2. Simply because you can go for the Blood Hunter set, and now you can stay melee the whole time. This is actually huge. You can't play this class as a range class in PvE, but you could play it as a complete melee. And that's why I would probably consider that somewhere here, one dagger, yeah, staff dagger, somewhere there in that range. Yeah, I think that looks fine. For sure, our Crusader here, the best tank in the game, Seeker our best healer, and Crucifix the best DPS. Everything else is kind of whatever. So yeah, if I would be a melee DPS, I would be really pissed right now. But yeah, what can you do? The devs decide what meta we are playing, and it seems like they want us to play this exact meta. It would be, by the way, not hard to change up the heal or tank meta. It's not that hard. It seems like they don't want to have variety here. I'm not getting it. But this is what they want us to play. But of course, this is my personal tier list. If you see something different, please let me know in the comments. I obviously haven't played every class in the game. So if you know something that I don't know, please share it in the comments. And yeah, guys, if you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching and see ya in the next one.